everybody got their mics on here? So everybody got... All right, I'd like to, everybody ready? I'd like to call the order the May 21st, Town of Winchester Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission meeting. We'll start with a roll call. I'm Russ Davenport, I'm the vice chair. I'm stepping in for Steve Molinelli, who is the chairman, who is absent, excused, I think is the term we
You don't
use.
have your mic on.
Oh, it was. All right. Told people to put their mic on. Did everybody hear that? I think so. It's a pretty small room. Under roll call, Steve Molinelli, as I said, is absent excused. Russ Davenport here. Jeff Lippincott.
I didn't hear from, Frank did call out though.
Okay. Is not with us. Frank Oliveri is absent excused. Gary.
Here.
Matt.
Present.
Jamie.
Here.
And Mary Ann.
Present.
And Kevin, no, absent excuse, okay. Under agenda review, is there anybody that would like to add anything on our panel?
Is there anything different about this agenda than the one that was in our package?
Should be the same.
Okay, great, thanks.
I did want to add something that I think I would put under maybe just discussion. I think would be under other, maybe under other business. I just wanted to bring up the Main Street property. There isn't really an address for it, but it's at the north end of town going to Norfolk across from 183, I believe.
Yep.
That is ID 101-101-12, which is owned by Last North Point 8 LLC. I'd like to just open a discussion about the status of that. On this also is election of officers, but I think from last month's discussion, we kept that under the meetings, or under the election of officers, that we kind of kept everything the same.
Yeah, that'll be removed going forward.
Okay. And then under approval of minutes, do we have any discussion with that amongst our panel?
What did you think about my notes with a slightly more robust?
They were pretty good. And
Yeah.
I brought them to Paul's attention, and I don't think we ever really
Okay.
had a conversation after
Okay,
that.
great, all right. Because remember I suggested,
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
so
we discussed trying to just get some better verbiage
Yeah.
into.
just a little bit more
detail into
yeah.
our approval of minutes.
So we don't have it in our current minutes from the last meeting, but it would be great to do that going forward.
Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a
from-
motion to approve the minutes from the April 16th, 2026 regular meeting.
Second.
Thank you. And then let's get right into it. Under old business, we have our first item, IWWC 26-3, which is Winstead Road Realty LLC, and that's on earth excavation on Torrington Road. Is there a representative there? Here? Could you just announce your name just for the recording here? And
My name is Wes Cloud, I'm representing Winstead Realty LLC.
Okay.
Webb, C. Webb and Associates.
Okay.
Ian Cole, soil scientist with C. Webb and Associates.
Got some heavy hitters here. All right, good. All right, tell us a little bit about
Yeah, let's go over
your project. I know we have, everyone should have these in their package, right?
We're going up there, I'm not. Okay, all right. So, we're here to restart an existing quarry that had last received permitting from the town in 2002. When we were here 2 meetings ago, initially, we had 5 phases in the project, which is what the original permit had. But since that time, we've revised the plan and eliminated the 5th phase, which has the only wetland on site in its
area, so we won't be anywhere near that existing wetland.
On this existing map, Phase 5 was to the left of Phase 3, and that's the area where the wetlands are on the property. So we've taken that completely out of the permit for the application, so the wetlands are no longer in play.
So basically, a little history again, was the Pepper Quarry primarily removed sand and gravel, very little rock. But they did leave a lot of bedrock exposed before they stopped operations. So the proposal here is to create a rock quarry
Which was fully permitted back in the day, but he, like you said, he never got to the
Right.
blasting operation. He took off the low-hanging fruit, all the sand and gravel off the property, and then he never proceeded to do any of the blasting or any of the rock removal.
So all the proposed activities are
Right.
in, those proposed activities that are in the upland review area are in previously disturbed areas, so that there is no new disturbed areas in this proposed project. So basically, there is no new activity under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Commission in a sense. However, we are working in that upland review area to regrade primarily the front of the site so that no stormwater runs off the site into adjoining properties.
And that's in
throughout the
phase
street.
1 on that
Yes,
street?
exactly.
Okay.
And I think it's important to note, just for context, the wetland that is the discussion that it's nearby is in the front of the parcel, but it's
Right.
right off site. So you have the Still River coming in, or a tributary to the Still River, that's kind of disconnected and not part of this drainage system where the new improvements are. But that basin that's out front, that was a created water quality basin at some point. It's excavated, basically around the perimeter of it, it's, got some alder trees that have grown in. But if you were to go to this site, you'd see that big tall row of arborvitaes, that's like 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
Right behind that, between those arborvitaes and the road, there's a depression that was excavated out, so.
Right.
All those improvements are essentially, the wetland that we're talking about, while it's renaturalized, originally was created as a water quality basin.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright, for the overall
if you look,
site.
But a wetland is a wetland once it's created. It's a wetland.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I said it's naturalized. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it has plants in it, but, it was a man-made excavated water quality basin. So, so on this site, on this plan, you could see the basins proposed now are much bigger than that one little one that the original had up front there, where it says FL equals 705.4. That's basically what where the existing basin is.
Yeah, that's the only existing basin on the property. The one north of it into the south, those are gonna be created as part of this application.
So right now, the town has hired a outside engineering firm to review this plan from an engineering perspective related to
That's through the
P&Z
building department or through zoning?
for zoning.
Through zoning, yeah. Is there a zoning variance for this, or no, it's been through that before, I would
Yeah,
imagine?
no, there's no, not that we know, there's nothing to do.
No
with
variance.
that.
Yeah, no,
They're-
it's
they're
just to
before
say it was there
P&Z
before.
right now.
P&Z.
Yeah.
And we've already, we were here Monday in front of the,
Right,
planning,
P and Z,
so.
yep.
Basically, I mean, it's predicted to be, a 10-year program, doing one phase at a time. The stormwater system has been designed in 2 phases, where the initial phase is what we have shown here, and the other, as we open up phase 1 and get some room to work, because right now there's not a lot of room there, and we're gonna use about a third of it just for stormwater. And then the basin will be enlarged as they get into phases 2. and so forth. So it'd be a large one more time, not considerably, but enough. So the work that's taking place in the existing processing areas, basically we're regrading that so that nothing runs off the site. It all ends up in that basin before, and then gets treated before it comes out into that wetland out front.
Into the
Where-
what's
yeah,
what
where
you're
it
saying
says
is
grade- You see on the
existing.
map, it says grade to 4 bay, so the whole thing was gonna be shifting over towards that, all the water quality basins.
So that's what those red contour lines are, to, you know, the changes that we're making to,
Basically to pitch it into that corner.
yeah, pitch it
Right.
into that corner.
Do you use any water in your process? You have a well there that you don't?
No, and there's no washing.
The only water that's ever used in this operation would be for just dust control.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
all-
not,
that's
no,
all.
I was just curious. I didn't know if you
No,
had
we
a
don't,
well there.
we don't
that-
do washed aggregate or sands or any of that
Right.
stuff, it's all just crush or run, and there's no water processing whatsoever.
And then there's a maintenance plan for that, the 4 bay of the sediment, 4 bay, and that needs to be cleaned out on a regular basis, and that'll be picked up and put in a sealed body truck and removed from the site, just a short distance down the road to their recycling facility.
We have a recycling facility right down, a quarter of a mile down the road from there, that we would just
That
bring
you
in.
handle other people's
We have
material.
our own, other people, it's a recycle yard
Right.
for all kinds of rock materials, dirt materials,
I got
wood
you, yeah.
materials and things like that. So we have that processing facility, so anything
Alright.
that we clean out there, just be shipped down the street to our own facility. The basins were also designed so the machine can get into them and clean them out, so that it could be done rapidly and often.
Right.
And so it's no handwork, nothing like that, it's all just straight machine work, pretty straightforward.
Isn't there a limitation we talked about from the P and Z, said that only 3 acres at a time?
Yep, there is,
Yeah.
that's being addressed with
And,
P&Z.
Yeah.
okay, because this says 3.74
Yeah,
acres.
that's part of our comments with P&Z, they're aware of it.
So, any other,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
open to
sure, we
questions
can-
now, yeah.
Gary, I know this is probably right up your alley too. You've done a lot of
Well,
this
we
type
went
of
through it in the
work.
last meeting.
Right.
It's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, yeah.
It works, I mean, it works fine.
Yeah, we did take your comments in that
Sure, yeah.
meeting.
So originally, we were just trying to get the original application just reapproved and stuff, but we
Right.
obviously had to make some changes to
Changes
water
and some
control
upgrades.
systems and stuff like
Sure.
that, and addressed any issues that the town had.
I see a letter here from, I don't know, if it's Tom Cavaldi from engineer dated
Yeah,
today.
That just came in this
So
afternoon.
you
Yeah, we haven't seen that.
Okay, so obviously he's,
We've been in consulting with them,
Yeah.
talking to them, so.
but none of these,
We didn't get the letter till late, so.
understood, yeah, so it's on our desk tonight when we get here. So obviously, there's a couple things in here that they want addressed, so.
As far as wetlands, I don't think,
Yeah,
I don't
keep in mind
believe
that
so.
it's a dual report.
It's a dual
for-
report,
Yeah,
okay.
because their comment to us was, they were actually, like, why are you even having wetlands? Because we took the wetlands out of the application, so.
Yes, it's
All
really-
right, so are there any germane, I haven't seen the letters,
I just scanned it really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some.
Jeff, did you get a chance to go through it at all? or-
Just scanned
scan-
it,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we got it at what, 4 o'clock? Something like that, yeah.
Well, at least.
We skimmed it.
Yeah, he tried.
Does anybody think we have issues with adjacent properties on this?
We actually own all the adjacent properties, so
There
it
you
doesn't apply.
You don't want a public hearing for yourself? All right, we can call one if you
So we went
want.
through that at P
Right.
and Z on Monday, yeah, so
Yeah.
we have all the surrounding property
Okay.
to this, so.
Public interest. Is P and Z doing a public hearing?
They have to, it's a special permit, yes.
Okay.
And that opened on Monday and was continued to June.
Is there any more discussion we'd like to have on the panel, or?
Well, if there's possible revisions that may come of this, obviously reducing the size of the phases,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, like, we should
will
hold
it
on
need to come back to
approval
us for a modification if things are different, or?
It only would come back to you if there are physical changes within the upland review area. I mean,
If
if
it
some of
would
the
make-
phasing lines get reshuffled around, that doesn't really impact their, you know, their stormwater management, doesn't impact the work that's in the upland review.
And then as we go forward too, as we open up more area, you know, and stuff like that, you know, as we renew permits, we'll be back in, you know, in adjusting things and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, your permit here is good for 5 years, the permit at P and Z is only good for 2. So they'll have to come back to
Right.
P and Z 2 years from now, and then 6 years from now, they'll be back to you to renew, and so on and so forth.
So that's kind of a
It'll
checks
be-
and, almost like a checks and
Yeah.
balances,
Yeah. Yeah.
moving ahead,
Yeah.
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 I guess if there's no more discussion, would anybody like to make a motion on this? I think we have a general consensus that it's something that should move forward, or? I don't know if there's any more discussion. I'll make them, are you good? I think we're,
Yeah, no, I'm good.
okay. Marion, did you want to review a few more things of that, or have any other questions?
I was just looking at the distance between the end of phase 1 and this tributary that goes into the Still River, but it looks like there's enough distance.
Do you want to?
There's, as far as phase 1 goes too, Mary, there's nothing that's gonna be, you know, leaving the site. There's an existing haul road up the side, so there's no activity
It's paved.
over here, and it's already paved.
And we're
So there's no, you can see where it shows like a little tracking pad at the bottom?
Yeah.
That's a paved road along the side of the property there, so there's no activity. That's an access road that we're gonna utilize to go up, but there's no activity as far as blasting going whatsoever. Because especially as we have all our water controls on that side
Yeah, yeah.
of the property too.
That's your existing haul road?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was put in previously.
That was part of the 2002 application that was put in.
And the planting plan from 2002,
It's completed and
it's
established.
now 26 years old, and it's robust, all in good shape. Everything survived.
I think if you look at this here, the letter from the engineer, he just lists some engineering conditions of approval. And I think maybe if we move forward with an approval tonight, just reference this letter.
Okay.
Because there's some stuff that I think is, obviously, he felt it important enough to
Yeah.
put it down there. There's 8 conditions he put in there.
Okay.
Should we just read them out loud?
Yeah,
they
because
don't
these
even
guys
know what
haven't
they
even
are
seen
yet.
them. I mean,
Yeah,
if you-
exactly.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously if you had any,
Oh, here it is.
or can we make some copies of it for these guys if they want to?
Yeah, it's already been.
Oh, they've already got it.
Portal.
Okay.
Is that something you want to read
Should
off,
we read them?
Matt? or-
Yeah,
The
that's a good idea.
engineering conditions of approval, but at the end, is that what?
That's what I
yeah.
was thinking,
Okay,
yeah.
so, number 1, final approved plan shall have live signature and seal of the state of Connecticut licensed professional engineer and surveyor of record. These shall be submitted to the Town of Winchester Planning and Community Development Office prior to any construction. Number 2, provide the name and 24-hour emergency contact telephone number to the ZEO, WEO for responsible party regarding the maintenance of the proposed erosion and sedimentation control measures. 3, provide an erosion and sedimentation control measures bond estimate. Said estimate shall be reviewed by the engineering consultant and bond set. No permit shall be issued until the bond has been posted. Number 4, a pre-construction meeting is recommended with the Town of Winchester staff prior to start of construction to inspect ENS control measures and to discuss construction sequencing and phasing. Number 5, during the construction, earth rock removal process, the owner, developer, contractor shall add erosion and sedimentation control measures as deemed necessary by the Town of Winchester staff and/or the engineering consultant. 6, daily inspections and required maintenance of all erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be completed by the owner, general, or the site contractor until a permanent vegetated cover is established. Repairs shall be made immediately after inspections and until a permanent vegetated cover is established, defined as 70% turf establishment. all erosion and sedimentation control measures shall remain in place and maintained until a permanent vegetative cover is established. Number 7, an as-built site improvement grading plan, which shall include topography, locations of all altered areas within the limits of disturbance, shall be submitted to the Town of Winchester staff for review and approval after all the site work is completed and prior to requesting the release of the ENS bond. Said map shall be prepared by a State of Connecticut registered land surveyor. Number 8, a final site inspection shall be completed by the Town of Winchester staff and/or the engineering consultant prior to the release of the erosion sedimentation control bond and/or the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Please note, this inspection shall only take place after the receipt of the as-built improvement and grading plan as required in item 7 above. I think it's good we've read this because we should understand if we're asking for an as-built at the end of every phase or at the end of all phases. That's not clear.
I take that as when the project is complete.
When all
That's how I
phases
read it,
are complete.
Yeah.
Was that
Right.
something that comes through our
We
board?
should
or-
clarify that.
Just because of all the other courts, I've never had to do an update during phasing plan.
Right.
The phasing plan is just kind of our in-house type of way that we go and tackle the project and stuff like that. And so when we do renewals and things like that, when we have to re-provide maps, that's when it shows current updated conditions as when we do our renewals, all those maps are obviously redone at that time.
And
Right, but if-
you need to also understand that when you're done with phase 1, it's a flat, somewhat flat area or whatever that you use to access the face of phase 2, whatever. So you're not doing the restoration and
Until
as-built
until
until
all
all the
things done.
phases are done, because
Right.
you're working over the top of the previous phase. with
The
the
reason I
equipment.
asked is because we know we have the 3-acre limitation in the planning and zoning regulations, which you guys are gonna have to deal with.
Correct.
So my assumption, and maybe it's an incorrect assumption, is that every 3-acre project will require a new permit, its own permit.
No.
No.
Like I said, it requires a renewal every 2 years at P and Z anyway. And what P and Z will do is they'll evaluate how far along they are in the project. I mean, you guys have been operating at the north end of town for how long? A long time.
Yeah,
And
20 years.
that's got 5 or 6 phases to it as well, which
Yeah.
have been going on for 20 years or so. And so there's areas of that site that are stabilized because they're no longer being worked on, and there's areas that are actively being worked on. And so I think what Tom's suggesting here is when the site is all done, buttoned up, and they want their erosion and sedimentation control bond back, which we're gonna hang on to essentially until they're done, when they say we're off the site, which they could not finish all 5 phases. They could do the first 3 and say we're done with the
Right.
site for whatever reason. But that's all gonna be required when they want their bond back.
We're at that point at the core you were referencing right now, because we just completed last fall the end blasts and stuff like that. So now we're in that process now of getting the restoration started and that kind of thing. But that's after 20 years. You wouldn't restore a phase 1 because we're gonna be going back and forth through that area, and there's nothing to establish at that point. Everything perimeter-wise is already established because of the old permit, and it worked out well for us.
Yeah, the reality is that site is going to have open areas essentially until they're done, because all the erosion and sedimentation controls, the ponds and the basins and all of that is at the bottom of the site in phase 1. So we're gonna hold on to that ENS bond until they're done.
Right.
Yeah,
And that was
and
my
you
next
keep the
question,
interest?
which is,
I-
sorry,
I think you get it back.
Oh.
I think that's how that works.
It's obviously scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it over 20 years?
Yeah, right.
You get about 35 cents.
You're right, yeah, right.
my next question is about the bond, because this clearly states that the bond has to be proposed by them and then approved by the engineer. So any approval that comes from this board would have to have that as a condition.
And you just read that condition in.
It was ready.
Yeah, so you just read it in.
Yeah, and that's the typical way of doing bonds. I know that this commission often just sets a bond amount, but typically you let the engineer of record figure out, an estimate, and then we would review it and approve it based on that, so that you have they usually build in some contingencies and whatnot.
good shape. Anybody like to make a motion?
Mary Ann will make
What's that?
it. Mary Ann will make it.
I'm not making the motion, sorry.
Okay.
You used up all your Mary Ann voice chits.
I'm allowed to make a motion as the chairman.
Yeah, of
I'd like
course.
to make a motion to approve IWWC 26-3 for Wesley Clow on behalf of Winston Road Realty, Torringford Road, map 045/block 158, lot 0491. The only condition of approval would be the compliance to the engineering conditions of the consulting civil engineers report
With date. including-
on May 21st, 2026.
I'll second that.
Oh, don't we need to also refer to the conditions?
I think I just did by saying it was, I referred to the
Okay.
conditions of the engineering conditions of
Oh, gotcha,
approval
okay.
on this civil engineer's report.
And do we need to do a condition, refer in the conditions to the P and Z approval?
They're getting the same report.
Okay, great.
Gary,
They
second that.
actually rely on your report, not the other way around.
All those in favor? Is that unanimous? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
I'm glad you pushed on that, 'cause I think it was important for everyone to hear.
All right, our next order of business under old business is item C, which is IWWC 26-4. And that is 508 West Wakefield Boulevard. And it's a post facto application for causeway reinforcement, tree removal, grading for walkout basement, new well, and other site improvements. All right,
Brian Avigny, Serena Home Improvement.
okay. Are you the only representative? I didn't know if the owner was coming too.
I am.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, well, I think we've reviewed, I know last meeting we had.
We
bunch
had
of
your
questions.
subcontractor was here,
Yes, we had a
Yeah, it was all the
subcontractor. We had a lot of questions for him. But I think now we're looking at a new set of plans here, or a different set of plans, and if you could walk us through what you got going on there, that would be great.
Sure. We have a new set of plans?
I don't have a new set of
I
plans.
thought, well, maybe it was the same, I thought we didn't have a grading set of plans.
No, we don't, we didn't and we don't.
That's the second set that I provided for last meeting, because it includes the well.
Right, so
And
I
trenching.
have
No,
this
we
from.
were asking for the landscape designer's plans, which I don't have.
supposed
I have,
Yeah, landscape, we're not gonna be able to get into.
Yeah, see, we don't have it, that's what we
So
asked
I
for last
have-
time.
Yeah, there's a preliminary landscape plan.
is that what conceptual layout, is that from, I have this from, I think maybe from last,
You should have had that before your last meeting.
I might have had that, so, and with this is also
Yeah.
this this map.
And that's the map by Cole that's up on the.
Plane. Okay, it's hard,
Oh,
I
I
can't
know,
see.
it's because I didn't get a packet
know
last
that,
time,
okay.
remember?
Yeah, so those are
I
the
don't
two
have
latest
this.
plans.
Okay,
I-
okay, then I'm wrong, I thought these were newer, I might have pulled them out of my old, last month's packet.
Yeah, no, those
Sorry
are
about
the plans you
confusion
had,
with that.
you had those for last month's meeting, and I think, the understanding, I think the commission needs to recognize that the landscape plan isn't fully fleshed out, so what you could do is you could do a conditional approval on the project overall, then if the landscape plan is substantially different from what's there, it comes back for a modification.
I don't know about that.
Well, let's start with, let's start with what you got going on here.
Could I just ask this, we had made a requirement that the site be cleaned up, everything out of the water. We gave them 7 days. Was it done?
An extension was asked for and approved, and then
Why?
everything is out of the water.
All right.
Who
I
approved
have
it?
uploaded new
Who
photos.
approved the extensions?
Yeah.
I did.
For how many days?
2 days later?
And what was the reason for the extension?
It was just a matter of time. I think we were trying to get the lull out of the way, and we only had a little bit of the zip board to attach, cut the lull out of the way, and it was up to I don't even remember anymore. I think it was just, couldn't get it done in the time because we had a day delay when we started after the meeting, when I got back. And then just needed the extra time.
Did everything get out before the water level came up?
Yes. And some of
Steve and I watched it, and everything looked good. They were delayed, I think. They had everything on that side of the silt fence, and then they just had it cleaned up as far as the yard itself. But
It's
that's
since
been
been
taking
raked,
place. It's-
hauled away. I don't know.
But
if we can
everything's
access it.
secured, it's all good.
I just did it.
So right now, we've got our erosion control set up there on site, right, that you verified?
Yeah.
You verified.
Yeah.
All trees have been removed back, all on the other side of the silt fence, was that, as I remember, that was one of the
Yeah, all-
issues
all
we have,
debris
everything's
has been
back
removed.
on the side of the silt
Yep.
fence that needs to be. And this is an after the fact application for tree removal, grading, walkout basement, new well, and other site improvements.
And the causeway, land bridge repair.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe that? That's one of the, is that one of maybe the bigger excavation issues there, the causeway, or?
We spoke about the causeway in the first meeting,
Okay.
and who was the chair? I don't remember.
Well, we talked about it in the last meeting too.
But could we talk about it now?
We could talk about it.
'Cause I don't
He was
remember,
like,
I
let's talk
know,
about it at a later date, let's get all this stuff done. So there wasn't much conversation about it.
Okay.
And from what I was told, I don't think it was discussed last meeting either.
It was discussed, there was no conclusion, but we kind of discussed the fact that there may have to be remediation to bring it back into compliance because you took part of the lake away when you did your repair.
You went outside of E4, you had stone wall.
Correct.
You added 8 inches to either side just to get the concrete there, correct?
I think it was 8 inches, but we
6
did.
inches, 5
We
inches,
did add,
3 inches,
yeah, we
2
did.
inches. You added to it.
We added to it, yes. We didn't touch the lake bed.
Wrong thing to do.
Right.
Wrong thing to do.
Exactly.
So. Matt, did you have some specific question? I think I know you know this site pretty well.
This is all I think we'd asked for what, updates on the existing topography, proposed topographies, all that?
Yeah, and I think
We
wasn't
did.
like the grinder pump in the wrong place and the well was in the wrong place?
We're gonna put a new well in.
Right,
Which is on the original plan, correct?
but wasn't in the right place on the plan.
I don't remember that.
Because remember they dug
They dug,
and then they,
well, what they dug was not the well, what they dug was the sedimentation for doing the well.
Trying to look at
Filled
the
it back
minutes
in.
here from last, some
So
of
they have
the,
to dig it again when you go to drive the well, it's for the silt and stuff that comes out.
maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was a discussion about the well on the map not being placed where it's gonna be on the site.
I don't remember
Okay.
that well.
It's always been in that location. This second set is where we redrew the overflow pit, if you will, the sedimentation pit.
I need a full set of these plans, because I didn't get a packet last time.
maybe it would be helpful if I just kind of went through the minutes from things we discussed from the last meeting, subcontract. I'm just gonna read this. This is the summary of the draft minutes. Subcontractor Jeremy Bishop appeared on behalf of the applicant and discussed the commission's erosion controls, which have been put in place since the post facto application was stated. I think we kind of went through that those conditions have been met, right? Also stated that Miriam Reno made a motion to allow the removal of natural materials from the shoreline to be completed by 4/24/26, with notice provided to staff before starting work. Where do we stand on that?
That was taking place with a
Okay.
two-day extension.
Okay, so that's still ongoing?
No,
Okay, so it is complete, okay.
That had a two-day extension.
$2,000 bond must be posted in first, and a mini excavator may be used to reach over the erosion controls in place. Seems like that has occurred. Excavator may not disturb any area outside the erosion controls, and no stump grinding to be done. And then it says here, we get into, a full site plan must be submitted for landscaping and regulatory review for any additional site work to be allowed.
That's what we asked for.
That is what we asked for. So we have the old one, we don't have one that is
Correct.
updated, is that?
yeah, we don't have a landscape plan at this point. Jeff and I spoke about it, and we realized we couldn't get that done, probably fit into this application, so I don't know if you can, like you said, make that amendment, or if we have to come back for another application specific for the landscape, we can do that as well.
So we have an original landscape plan, but that one's not gonna be followed probably, or is that the case?
That was the proposed plan to the client. I know the client's
Yep.
gonna have changes. We don't know what those are yet.
Right, so we're waiting for that, we need to know exactly, as you're moving ahead, right, exactly what the landscape plan is.
I haven't seen another draft of it, so.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we were pretty specific. A full site plan must be submitted for landscaping and regulatory review for any additional site work to be allowed.
Right.
We were,
And
and nothing
then-
new has been submitted.
We're not doing any more site work, and that was submitted. That's the site plan. It's not the landscape plan, but it's the site plan.
So the original site plan, has any of that work been completed? Like the well, for example, like is that?
No.
But I think I've been hearing that maybe the well isn't on that location?
No, the well is in that location. What
The
they
old
did-
one.
What they did with that well is proposed well, they dug a sedimentation hole to drill the well, have the sediment going on.
Right.
They didn't do the well, so they filled the hole back in, graded over it. Now, in order to do the well, they have to dig the sedimentation basin again and put the silt fence around it.
Right. But is the well in the same place?
Yeah.
Okay. So in a sense, that hasn't changed from the plan? Just how they executed the work?
Maybe there's some confusion because the existing well is in the driveway.
They haven't
Yeah,
done the
no, I
well
was.
yet.
That one was
Right, no, I
collapsed.
know, I'm
Yeah.
talking about the new well, this proposed well. Is that in the exact same location as this set of plans?
Yes,
Okay.
it's always been in the same place.
Okay, no, I just wanted to clarify that. What about, I mean, we got the erosion control, what about a drainage plan? Is there some drainage on this? I'm looking, I'm kinda looking through this. I see, typically there's, I don't know if that would be part of the, usually that's not part of a landscape plan, but I don't know if there's any drainage. Maybe there isn't.
We would put
And-
drainage on the landscape plan because I know they're proposing some, retaining walls, which would require drainage, and whatever material they used
Sure.
would be, that's what I'm looking for, the self-draining material,
Crystal stone, maybe.
that kind of stuff, yes.
Yeah.
I guess where some of the question comes, what are you doing with your roof leaders?
We don't have a plan for anything.
Your gutters, your leaders?
Yes.
I don't know
We
if I've
don't have a
ever-
means and methods, we don't have a plan for drainage, we don't have anything
Yeah,
in front of
typically
us.
we have a full site plan that shows any drainage, whether it was existing or new. I mean, are there additions being built in the house, or it's mostly just cosmetic?
No, it's been torn off, like.
Right.
It's been rebuilt.
It's totally
It's been
rebuilt.
So
What it was from the
typically
inside.
right, so
Yeah.
typically we would have a set of not typically, we always have a set of plans that show any drainage from roof leaders. If there's old drainage, it's noted on the site. If there are footing drains, it's noted.
If there are new footing drains, I know there's an area where you excavated in the back under the porch and then you refilled, like, what about those footing drains? We don't have any of that information.
So typically, we're
Footing
gonna,
drains to that, sure.
Well,
what's that?
We need an actual, this isn't the type of site plan we need, right? We need something that has all of that information, that has your means and methods listed.
I can give you footing drains and where it's gonna go. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, you
how
can
much
sit
more-
with these
how much
guys,
more
they
detail
can tell
need
you
on it.
exactly what we need, and they can probably give you examples of plans that have been approved, if that's helpful.
That's fine. I've been sitting with these guys the entire time though, and that never came up, so I wanna make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that we have
No, and that's what we're here
I wanna
for.
make sure we have
We're
everything
trying
at
to just
once.
iron this out so that, you know, we have a set of plans that are showing us exactly where all the drains, that's mostly what we deal with here at the lake, with houses, is drainage.
Stormwater
and
management.
stormwater management. So you're on a site that has, you know, almost 3 sides of water, I mean, it's pretty.
It's all water.
It's an island. So it's a high, you know, it's something that's certainly high visibility, but also something that certainly, all of our sites require a true, like I said, a means and
And it
method, a true
slopes,
drainage,
the whole property slopes.
a full drainage plan that's on the civil.
Your building, did you create more roof in that building than what was actually there before?
We added a couple dormers.
But you didn't create any more area as far as impervious to where you're gonna have more runoff coming down your leaders? No. What did it have before? Did it just run off onto the ground and down the hill, or did it go into drains?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. There's so many pipes and drains that lead to nothing and just cast iron that's been broken.
Right.
And
I guess-
there was nothing on it that would lead me to believe that it was going in anywhere.
All right, let's make this simple. We need for you to tell us, or explain to us what you're doing with your roof water.
Okay.
And
On a set of plans.
and what you're doing with your footing
Your
drain
footing
water.
drains as well, yeah.
Okay, that's basically where we're going with this. Okay?
And on the whole property, so if you're disturbing more of the structures that are on the property, we need to have that information about all the structures. Because there are, I think, 5 or 6 structures on
Yeah,
that
we're not
property.
touching those in this.
Okay,
Yeah, if you can give us something that shows us what you're doing with your leader drains, or if it's coming with no leader drains, no gutters, just coming off the roof, and how you're gonna stabilize that, that's primarily what we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very straightforward and, in a sense, request that all of our plans come through with that on it. You know, on a form, so we can say, okay, well, this is where you're bringing this water to, and say, into a small rain garden or retention pond to help drain it before it goes in the water, you know. Like I said, pretty standard procedure for all of our big, you know, sites, and yours is a big site, it's a big remodel.
oh, one other thing, in the last meeting, when, I forget the fellow's name who was here, Jeremy was here, he said that the patios are changing some. So if the patios are changing, we also need to understand what's gonna happen to any drainage as it relates to
Right.
that
That would be
impervious
on
area.
the landscape plan when we finally get that
It's gotta be on the
finalized.
site plan.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a landscape plan, which you have a version of, and a version of
But-
this that just shows all your.
Well,
I couldn't-
usually the patio, the impervious coverage is on the site plan as
Plan,
well,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it does have to, they have to tell us how they're dealing with the runoff on the in the
Well,
impervious
once I get
areas.
the landscape plan, I can update the site plan per that.
Well, we wouldn't then give you a permit for any patio work, right? If the plan comes in without patio work and that information on it, then you'd have to come back for another permit for that work.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you get, you know, all your ducks in order in one shot, so when you finalize your, you know, your landscaping plan and then put any drainage of this, and then you'll have a site plan like this that shows all your drainage that your engineer would draw up, or your,
Let your engineer know that nothing can be directly discharged into the lake. Okay, it's gotta go out into a retention basin or
Got it. Perfect.
a garden.
yeah, they would know, I mean, usually they would know, they're very, pretty what's that, you
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe in
We're
this
not doing too
case,
good
no.
right now.
Oh, you're right, we're not doing too good right now. But these are all things that we can certainly work through with you, and, you know, we just need them provided on a formal set of plans, and then, no different than I'm sure your building plans, you have a regular building permit, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so that would show exactly all you're doing, we're just looking for the same version of that with our drainage and impervious pavers and landscaping all put together.
It's just more detailed.
Yeah, and if there's anything you think that's, you know, you're not sure of, certainly reach out to Jeff, and, you know, but the more detail, the better, even if you think it's, if you maybe show some existing piping, you said maybe there was some older piping, maybe you can show existing and say, oh, well, that didn't go to anything, and now it's gone, anything is helpful, even some pictures, yeah, I know.
That would
but-
require some digging, and I know we don't want to do
Yeah.
that, so.
Like I said, the more
I just assumed
detail,
from
the
scratch.
better helps with getting something accepted, you know.
Is there any way I can proceed with getting the well in while I'm working on that for you guys? Because
No.
once,
That's
once,
good.
once plumbing,
Definitely not.
why not?
We need to give you a permit.
Yeah, I think initially, we can't go back to, I wish you were here in the initial meeting, but we had kinda asked about all this stuff, it may not have got translated to you, but, like I said, you're in a high, you're under a lot of jurisdiction in a wetlands area.
Yeah.
With building, you got wetlands, like you said, you got wetlands on three
All
sides,
the way
all the
around.
way around you. It's,
And you have an area in the back that, you know, it has issues, right? That Sucker Brook area has issues.
Issues meaning like sedimentation issues and, yeah,
Exactly. So, you know, it's like, it's a highly sensitive area.
yeah, probably more so than you may have realized,
Yeah, I don't even know that area you're speaking of. What
right?
was it called?
Sucker Brook?
Sucker Brook?
Sucker
Yeah.
Brook is the water course that comes out, spills out into the little inlet behind the house, right?
Behind, meaning by the causeway?
Yes.
Yeah, so not in the open lake part at the back. And,
But we wouldn't be causing any drainage on that side anyway, so. Right.
we don't know till
Well,
we
that's
see.
up to your-
That's a long way to go.
We need a site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's up to your engineer to determine how you're gonna deal with the stormwater.
Yeah, because the property slopes in all directions.
Okay, you need an intense site plan, something that tells us everything that we need to know.
This is basically just existing conditions with a well location
Can I make a request?
put on there.
Would you guys mind asking Haley Ward if they would be willing to have you share some of their recent plans on some, like, bigger projects with these guys so that they can see something that really checked all the boxes for us?
Public record anyways, once they're,
Oh, yeah.
once they're submitted,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
public
that's,
record.
that's
I already made
right,
a
that's
note to
right.
share.
Yeah, good, good.
So I will just make a note for the commission that we are up against a 65-day deadline, so what we need to do is get an extension request from the applicant to kick this to the next meeting, if you're amenable to that. Otherwise, the commission's gonna have to be forced to make a decision tonight, and I think I know which way that would go, so.
Can the extension request be made verbally right now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Can I request that I get an extension on my application till the
That's
next
what we
meeting,
need you to
please?
say.
Yeah, I'll
I
make
was
it,
paying attention, I was just looking for the date.
I'll
of
make
the
a
next
motion
meeting.
to grant an extension request for application, what is it? IWWC 26-4, 508 West Wakefield Boulevard, post facto application for causeway reinforcement, tree removal, grading for walkout basement, new well, and other site improvements.
Second.
All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Okay,
Do we need a motion
So-
to continue it also?
Yes.
yes, you wanna make that one?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to continue IWWC 26-4 to the next meeting.
Second. Jamie seconded
Yep.
quietly.
All those? Okay. All right, I think we're good. I think you're clear what we need to do as far as for our next meeting? All right, perfect. Thank you very
you.
much.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Under old business, I'd like to move forward to item D, which is IWW 26-6, which is 57 East Lake Street. It's a remove portion of existing dock and attach 3 new 4x10 pieces.
Oh, wow, look at all these people.
Good evening, just for the record, if you
How are
could
you?
Good evening.
state your names and.
Tanika Bellucci.
Okay,
Joe Valucci.
all right,
Jacob Jovic with the Marina.
okay,
family.
all right, perfect. All right. Trying to remember this one from last month, if we had any questions to the applicant for this.
I think they provided the survey, wasn't it, right?
Yeah, I'm working on getting it up on that screen.
Yeah.
I have it yelling at me here.
This is.
Yeah, this was pretty simple.
Real small piece of property with an easement that runs to it.
I can't, sorry, I can't look back. Any of the board members have any outstanding questions on this one, or, I can't really see that well that way, I know you guys.
No, they meet the littoral boundaries, they're removing a portion of the deck there.
Right.
This is a floating dock that's going in there? Or a lake, okay. Obviously be removed every fall. I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
There's no disturbance, no. How are you gonna fasten it to the shore, just or to the existing?
It's gonna have anchor poles that are, to the lake bed, but it's all removable.
They're the poles with the feet, is that how you do it? Yeah. Alright. I think we're good, any discussion?
No, I think
No.
it's kind of a simple.
Alright,
Yeah.
we're pretty good, I'd like to make a motion to accept, or I'm sorry, approve,
We have discussion, and we're concerning neighbors.
No, absolutely.
Not a public
Abutting
hearing.
neighbors.
yeah, I don't, we have not called a public hearing for this. I don't know how we can,
So the chairman, at your discretion, because you're leading it,
Yeah,
can
yeah.
accept comment, but it is not a public hearing.
okay,
The process, there's a couple of ways to force a public hearing. You know, there's intervener status, but it's owned property and it meets the
Sure.
regs, so it's up to you, it's your discretion.
I mean, as wanting to be open with this board as possible and neighbors, I'm willing to certainly listen to or accept, you know, the neighbors on behalf of giving their, I guess, opinions about this existing dock. I think that's the right thing to do. Should we have them, I don't know if you just like to state your name, maybe, I mean, this isn't a formal, it's not a public hearing, you know, we typically don't have a public hearing when somebody is replacing an existing dock with a dock that's the same size,
And is-
within a littoral boundary.
But that's where I don't think it's replacing because it's not been, oh, I'm sorry, I'm Karen Tiernan. And I
Sure.
live right next door at 61 East Lake Street.
Okay,
Okay?
And I'm John Tierney,
okay,
My husband
co-owner.
lives in the same house. And, go ahead.
So there's not an existing dock, there's an existing structure, there's a deck structure. We've owned the property for 10 years, and there's never been a dock there. There was a structure dangerously unstable and partially submerged when we first bought our house. That's been gone for years.
Right.
And pieces of that wood were then placed onto the groundwork and creating a deck. But there's been no structure that's gone out into the lake in many, many years.
do you feel that that structure would hinder, navigation?
I'm worried about navigational safety in this area. It's a very small property, and if, I mean, we have pictures we can show you. The existing docks on either side actually converge towards the end of where this dock would be, and so the space would be much smaller than you see there, because they don't go straight out.
Oh, so you're saying this drawing is incorrect?
Well, it doesn't show it doesn't show our dock.
I see.
Normally it wouldn't, right, because it would be within a littoral boundary. We wouldn't typically have the neighbor's dock on it unless
Unless
it
the
was-
neighbor's dock is crossing the littoral boundary.
Yeah, unless the neighbor's dock
In
is.
which case, we should probably look at it. Like, we might wanna continue it and go look at it.
And for, the way that the lake is, there's a huge rock on the other side, the farther side of our dock. So the only opportunity for us to dock is actually on the same side here, very close proximity to the proposed.
But it's
dock.
within their littoral, I mean, I wanna clarify, it's certainly within their littoral boundaries on a navigational, from a navigational standpoint,
Well, that is in our purview.
is our purview,
Yeah.
but is navigation for people across the whole lake, or is it subject to a neighbor's navigation?
I mean, navigational hazards are navigational hazards.
By, yeah, no, I'm trying to understand this, cause I'm not, I don't live
I
on
mean,
a
that
lake or
is
have a
in-
dock.
That is in our purview.
Right,
If I may,
Sure.
Robert Menaki, I'm at 59.
You're an additional
I am
neighbor.
the dock that is listed there. The littoral boundaries, according to section 380,
Right.
state that the littoral boundaries come perpendicular off the seawall. That does not show them coming off perpendicular to the seawall. So therefore, the
That's
bottleneck
true.
of the two docks
That's true.
come, my dock and their dock, show like that. So you
Okay.
have a bottleneck convergence.
What he's saying is that this is perpendicular this way, but
Correct.
not this way, which
It-
is how the
Right.
seawall.
Section
Well, that-
380 states perpendicular to the seawall.
So the seawall is the blue line, Marianne, not that angled line. The angled line is the property line.
But if this is.
That's the seawall.
Yes, I
Yes,
understand.
okay, all right.
So, but are we saying this is the littoral boundary?
It is not, according to section
And
380.
so, yeah, so his point he's making is that this line should actually be angled this way.
Correct.
Yeah.
So our surveyors,
The survey might be wrong.
So
We don't
I
have-
I can show you.
We've had this problem before with surveys.
I
we
can
have had
show
this
you a
problem
picture of a
before.
Google Earth photo for you to get a better.
No,
I mean,
Google
I
Earth
feel
is
like
not, it shouldn't be as accurate as a surveyor.
No.
But, now, you just said your property surveyed recently.
I have.
Do you have your littoral boundaries located on your survey?
I do not. My dock was existing when I purchased the property 24 months.
Just out of curiosity, because you're disputing his, that's all.
May
Well, all
Sure,
I'm doing
and-
is I'm stating.
yeah, no, we're
section
we're
380,
open
that's it.
discussion, I'd certainly like to,
Sure.
have the
We
representative
bought the
of the.
home, I'm sorry, we bought the home in 1999. The
Okay,
reason why we bought the home was because the dock that was there. We had not lived in that house for 12 years, my wife and I. But there was a dock there, okay, and the hinges held the dock.
sure,
And what happened, it was held by black barrels underneath.
sure, yeah.
And it came undone, the hinges came off, and for 12 years, we really haven't lived there, but we do go there in the summer and the spring. But there was a dock there. We just never replaced it because we never lived there.
But
Sure.
one thing we should just let you know is
Yes.
that lots of properties have old docks on them. Many of the old docks on properties are not compliant with
Yeah.
the dock and mooring regulations.
Yes.
So when people come to ask them to be, for them to be replaced, it's our job to make sure that they come into compliance.
Okay.
So your survey shows something that seems to be compliant, but what we're
Yeah.
hearing is that there may be an issue with how your littoral boundary is drawn. There's another dock that might be crossing the littoral boundary that's not shown on the other side. So I'm gonna recommend we continue this and we go look at the property.
And call a formal public hearing.
May I
unfortunately.
ask?
Sure, of course.
The same surveyor that surveyed my property surveyed 59 East Lake Street. Is that correct?
Why not?
Why not, yes.
Why not? Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
but he just said his survey doesn't have his littoral boundary on it, so unfortunately,
I don't know
that
what that
doesn't help
means.
us.
I don't
The
know
little-
what that means.
The littoral boundary is the, in a sense, the boundary going out, the hypothetical boundary going out into the lake, judging from your property lines. So there are setbacks from that. In the ideal world, we try to have setbacks, you know.
Yeah.
So explain to me so that I understand.
what is the problem with me replacing the dock? As a matter of fact, I'm replacing the dock smaller than what it was there before.
There may not be a problem, I think.
Okay.
There may not be. I don't think we have enough information right at the moment, given that, you know, there were some other concerns of neighbors, which is very common in this, on this board, that there are navigational hazards, or that there are docks that are conforming on some neighbors' properties and non-conforming on others, that these issues tend to come up frequently. So you know, you may be able to put this dock there. I don't think we have enough information to go ahead with doing that. I'd like you to be able to put it there, because it makes sense from this drawing, but there may be some issues with some other littoral boundaries, and we unfortunately always have to do our due diligence to enforce these dock and mooring ordinances.
Where do we move to find out whether Wynett has the right littoral documentation?
I suppose we could simply ask him to re-review it with, you know, section 380 and, you know, make sure that he followed the right methods.
All right, so can we move forward with this if he reviews it with section 380, right? And it comes to, yes, this is right. These people are trying to make their property conforming, right?
Yeah.
So we can say right now that, point blank, we can continue it to next week, to next month, so that they can, we can talk to Wynett, or we can turn around and say that we can approve it based on Wynett's.
I don't want to do that, because clearly there's they have mentioned there's a potential navigational hazard, so I think we need to go put eyes
We've
on
been
it.
there before, in another cove, all right, we made the mistake of denying that person who came in twice, all right, doing her property proper, brought up to date and legal, we denied her. This is
That was a
wrong.
public hearing, we had many, and we certainly had many.
It's wrong to deny somebody who wants to bring themselves into compliance because someone next door is not.
I don't agree
Which we
with
don't
you.
know.
Which
I
we
mean,
don't
it's
know,
fine,
the
but
biggest
I
thing
don't
right now
agree.
is
I
why
think,
finding out whether
I
this is
think
correct.
that if navigational hazards do fall under our purview, and I do think we have a responsibility to go put eyes on the property, to get, you know, clarity on whether or not the littoral boundary is drawn. We've run into this before with surveys where the littoral boundary was not
Well, I think the biggest
drawn
thing here,
correctly.
the biggest thing here is littoral bond.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Navigational hazard is out the window to me.
I feel
Well,
like
that can be out the window to you, but it's not out the window to me.
No, and I understand. I think we have to be very careful with navigational hazards versus inconvenience. And I'm not
Sure.
accusing anybody of inconvenience.
Sure.
I'm just saying
I
everybody has. I know you guys get really. I say you guys because I don't have a house on the lake, but people get really stacked along these docks, and it can be tough. People have different sized boats. People buy bigger boats. Some people, again, have never had to go around a dock that was, you know, not in the water for a bunch of years. So then it comes in the water, and they're like, oh well, this is a problem, right? So I think we're seeing maybe a little bit of that here, but I certainly want, you know, people have, you know, their right to put in a dock on their property that meets our regulations, and certainly,
Sure.
like I said, the navigational hazard is, I don't want to say it's a can of worms, but I think we have to be very careful as a board to make sure we're trying to enforce that without it being done by convenience or inconvenience to somebody.
I agree with you. I wouldn't
No,
I
no,
wouldn't
I'm not.
call a
We're just all open
navigational
discussion
hazard
here.
one if it were just certainly inconvenience. I also want to say that normally I would have seen the property before the meeting. My mother was sick and just died, so I haven't had the time to go see your property, but I will go see your property before the next meeting.
And I think having Joe Wynett confirm the littoral boundaries is the most important thing, because if he is accurate with that you guys have every right to have that dock there.
Yes, absolutely.
End of story.
End
If
of
those
story.
are the correct littoral boundaries, you are entitled to that dock.
If they had to cross someone else's littoral boundary to park their boat, they wouldn't have the right to have their dock there.
Is that the case?
Yeah, you can't come across somebody else's littoral just to get to your thing. And this was the problem with the other cove. They were coming across the person who was trying to get approved. They were coming across her littoral boundary to park, okay? She should have been approved. But we went through the navigational hazard thing, we denied the woman. This one here, I don't think there's anybody crossing any, we don't know. He's stating that it's gonna be, they're crossing littoral boundary because the littoral boundary is incorrect. If this littoral boundary is correct here, like it is, well, I don't think there's a problem.
Great.
We have to see if the littoral boundary is correct. on the-
And to
on the map.
confirm that, we would really need to reach out to the
Surveyor.
surveyor. So is that something we're looking at moving into, you know, a continuance, to continue this to our next meeting potentially with more information, or do we make that, does somebody wanna make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to continue application IWWC 26-6, 57 East Lake Street, proposal to remove portion of existing dock and attach 3 new 4x10 pieces to our next regular meeting in June. What's the date?
I think we moved it to the 17th, didn't we?
Yes.
It's Wednesday the 17th.
Wednesday,
holiday.
June 17th.
Town hall closes early on the 18th, which is the Thursday.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
May I ask, or
Well,
is
we
this
just,
not a
sorry, we
good
have a
time?
motion on the table, so,
I'm so sorry about that.
does anyone want to second it?
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
I wanna keep, would there be another motion,
So we have to approve or
Yeah, I'm
not
sorry,
approve that motion.
all those in favor? Would there also be a motion or interest of the board for, that this should go to a public hearing? You know, we listen to comments, I don't know if it really merits one, I'm just proposing that to the board.
I don't think it merits a
don't think
public
merits
hearing,
a
however, if the neighbors are totally welcome to send letters
Sure,
and
absolutely.
drawings and whatever they want to us for consideration.
Well, and so that's the thing, they can't because it's a public hearing. Again, at the meeting, if the chairman decides that he wants to take comments, that's fine.
Which I did, right, I just said we would
You
take
know.
comments, which we had
So
that.
if you wanna take more written comments, I think you need to put that on the record now, because otherwise they're gonna come to staff and we're gonna say, there's no opportunity for public comment because it's a closed process between applicant and commission without a public hearing, so.
If I may ask permission,
Sure,
could
absolutely.
you reach out to the surveyor and have him put the other abutting dock on the plan so that a full view of exactly what's happening?
You would have to ask for that because someone has to pay for it.
They have
Yeah,
to
it's
ask
not
for it. As the applicant, you'd have to ask for it.
But as the commission, shouldn't you be privy to that information to discern?
We
the
basically
littoral
look
boundaries
for,
on both sides?
we basically look for littoral lines of the property that's
But
in
not
play.
the butters.
Not really the abutters, because that is the littoral line.
Because the littoral line's the littoral line.
Littoral line's
There's
the
not
littoral
two littoral lines on adjacent, it's just one, yeah.
Just asking for a fuller picture so that
Yeah.
everyone has the complete information, not part of it.
Well, we're gonna go look
Well,
at the property. So-
We would have, if we had, if the littoral boundaries are correct, then we do have, in a sense, I don't wanna say it doesn't matter what the other ones are, but to an extent, there's not a lot of focus on
I
a neighbor's
fully-
property, you know,
I fully understand.
with this,
We're drawing parallel lines where there are no parallel lines. That's
Right.
the point of putting everything on the plan, is to show the commission
Right.
the complete picture.
as
not
it,
part of it.
I do feel like that I would like to, I mean, I think we have to agree to that. That I would like to keep it open, that if the neighbors wanted to write something or submit a set of plans that seem to shed light onto this, they certainly can. I'm not gonna open up to a public hearing, but I think we can agree that that's the right thing to do, that if they do wanna submit your own survey that has, I know unfortunately surveys are expensive, but that's how the only way we can operate on the lake with, littoral boundaries. but that's something that would be considered and could be submitted to you, or by you, for our next meeting.
I also want to understand, the part of the reason I want to see this property is that it looks to me like there is a deck structure that cantilevers out off of the seawall. And if that's the case, then we're over 50% frontage coverage on this application with structures.
Well, it's something we have to look at.
So we have to
a
look
little
at that
bit.
too.
Yeah, so that's right, that's an existing dock. I'm gonna pull up the aerial.
So that would
just
mean that it's
because-
not compliant.
It has been there since I bought the
But that
dock.
doesn't mean it's compliant. That's what I was trying to explain to you earlier, is that when
Are
people.
their docks compliant?
I have no idea, but if they come in and they wanna redo their docks, they have to make them compliant. Any new application requires us to bring the
Mary,
docks
may I
in.
ask you a question?
Yes, I'm just trying to explain to you
I got it. I'm
how it
sorry, I
works.
got it.
Yeah, okay.
So this is,
Wait, no, he's asking a question, please, sorry.
If I were to replace the dock when it came undone,
You would have to come in for a permit,
way back 12 years ago,
correct?
and that's what I'm doing now. So what seems to be the issue? I'm a little narrow-head here.
12 years ago, you would have had to make your dock compliant with the dock and mooring regulations, but you didn't. So now, 12 years later, you have to make your dock compliant with the dock and mooring regulations. So there's no difference whether you did it then or now. Same process.
And their docks are compliant.
No idea. But if they come in for a new permit, for a new dock, their docks, if they were not compliant, would have to be brought into compliance.
So there's a lot of docks that are non-compliant that are just
And may
there.
I
'Cause
ask
they're
you,
old.
are their docks supposed to be there to begin with?
We don't know.
We don't know.
And mine is an issue because I wanna do the right
No,
way.
we're not singling you out,
No.
you know,
What
in
year
any
was the
way.
dock and mooring regulation put in effect?
90-something.
93.
So basically, what's happened here is, if your dock was in prior to 93.
I bought it in 1999, so it was already there.
Let's say your dock was in prior to 1993, and it went out 60 feet, and you never came to us for any modifications, any fixing or anything. You can keep your dock. The minute you come in and wanna do something, okay, hypothetically, you have a 60-foot dock. The minute you come into us and wanna do something on your waterfront, and you go in with an application, your dock now has to come into compliance. But if you never come to us, we don't have any grounds or means or method to make you change your dock. So now you're in before us, and we have to make your dock
Compliant.
up to
By
code.
the regulations that we have to follow. We didn't make,
We didn't
maybe
make
some of you
them,
wrote them,
but-
but we did, right?
There's sizes, lengths, widths, everything that you have to go by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told that has to be, 25 feet property, which I own,
Right.
and has to be 10 feet on each side, and then I could have my dock.
I think there's a very good likelihood that, next month it'll be revealed, that we'll be able to see that it is conforming, that it shouldn't be a problem. We just have to do a little more due diligence now. We have to confirm with the
What do I need to
surveyor.
do with this stuff?
Nothing.
Okay.
we'll reach out to the surveyor staff
Okay.
and confirm this.
I'm sorry that I'm asking, but I'm
Don't
really
be.
surprised about this process right now.
Yeah, most people are when they come in. Like I hate to say it, like the guy that came in on the last one, started this whole huge remodel, and now he's floored that he needs to have a drainage plan and all these other erosion controls, and we're amazed that he didn't think of it. But it's a highly regulated, highly sensitive area. More and more houses on it, on the lake every year, so it's a challenging environment for everyone to work in and try to enjoy their lake life,
Well, we wouldn't not follow the rules.
No, I know, I appreciate
That's
you.
why you're here, that's
you know.
why you're here, so we understand that.
Yep.
We just have to do our due diligence, that's all,
Yep.
so.
So I think the motion stands, we're gonna
Continue.
continue to next month. We're gonna reach out to the surveyors. If the neighbors wanna send some information, it may be pertinent, it may not be, we don't know. We'll certainly take a look at it, but if your dock conforms within your littoral boundaries and with what you have for waterfront, meet those regulations, it shouldn't be a problem. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thank you very much. All right, thank you. Moving on to, new business, we have, one application here, IWWC 2610. The applicant is, M.E. Carroll and Sons for 537 East Wakefield Boulevard, and that is to replace an existing dock, same size, same location.
My name is Jared Carroll, I'm the owner of M.E. Carroll and Sons, representing the Mickelsons on this dock that they're looking to repair because the frame is rotted out on it. I tried to provide some photos of everything I could.
What do we got? New business.
So you just heard a good portion of that there. Obviously, you're gonna have to conform to our new dock and mooring ordinances, which is a maximum of 10 feet wide and 320 square feet and 40 feet from the shoreline. And probably gonna need a survey with the littoral boundaries on it.
All right, what do we got here?
The survey you provided is just the house across the street, correct?
Yeah, well, we came into the office and it's kind of a funky thing with the road there. You know, who owns what across the street, you know, was kind of up for debate, I guess. The dock has been there since they've owned it, but, you know, their properties are across the street.
Is there a deed with the property across the street?
There's no property there, it's literally the road.
So it's just the East Wakefield right of way?
Yeah, wasn't there some, and I'm trying to remember, there's some easement or something that they got for that dock originally, right?
Yeah, they had
The
come
commission
in like
approved that.
'93, and it was included in the
Yeah,
paperwork.
I
They
saw
had
it.
come in and the commission had approved it in '92 or '93, I believe, about, maybe even later than that. They had approved it there in that location.
I think I'm seeing 99.
Oh, okay.
I think I saw something for 99 in here quickly when I was reviewing it. Applicants, here we go, right here. Oh, 96, I'm sorry. Or no. No, 92, 99.
So it was approved then. and they
92,
put this
99, and I
reference.
think our, that was the same ordeal. We should have had the same.
Yeah, it was 93 that your ordinances were created.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some funny things going on then, because we've also had our other friend over by Vaughn's Lane. That, remember, something was approved there that technically didn't meet the.
Correct.
So,
Right, right,
I don't know what was going on in 99, but.
Okay, so it was approved. This was approved, right? And it's being put right back in exactly what it is and what was approved. He's coming in, they're coming in again, but they're going right back for an original approval, original dock, the same size as what was approved then.
New legs, right, new legs attached to existing piers, so we're not doing any,
We had a
Right? It's a
structural,
nothing thing, right?
Right.
Is that what we're telling? Is that where we are?
yeah, I'm just gonna yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty close there. I'm just gonna look, I'm just reading to, new beams installed on deck built, 3 modular sections will be hoisted into place, existing float and jet ski will be reattached. Work will begin in September, so completed. Are you thinking well, there's always some bit of a drawdown, so
Yeah, the 3-foot drawdown.
the 3-foot drawdown,
yeah,
is that what you were
the
planning?
front legs they're reusing, so the back legs would be the only ones we'll
Right.
just replace.
I mean, what was scaring me was the property, not having a deed to whatever. So, but it was already approved through our commission at one time, so this is all we're looking at is
And how
Yeah,
long
and
ago was that?
within the,
maybe something.
it's
Right.
within the timeframe of this dock and mooring ordinance.
Yeah,
So,
within the
yeah.
time frame. That's where I'm going, so
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
need for us to chase all the way back to deeds and.
Well, they do have an interest in an easement. I knew it was there. I'm scrolling through finding it. There is an interest in an easement for access to Highland Lake over the northerly half of this portion, 25-foot strip lying between Wakefield Boulevard and Highland Lake. So they do have legal right to use that strip.
And now that we're gonna go a little further here, we don't have a plan that actually shows littoral boundaries and stuff. They must have at that time had it because it's approved from our commission.
Yeah, I mean, I think we sort of took everything out of the folder and scanned it and put it in the system from back then.
Yeah, there's nothing, there's no survey and there's no littoral
That's what I
boundaries.
thought, so
Yeah.
So this has to be continued to next month anyways.
Yeah.
This is an acceptance.
Just an acceptance.
So
You
two
need me to
step,
bring or get anything else, or?
I don't believe so.
no, we'll make I can do it right now, I'll make a motion, I think we're in a good spot with this motion to accept, application IWWC 26-10, 537 East Wakefield Boulevard to replace existing dock, same size, same location.
I second.
Second, and I call the vote, all those in favor? Yes, unanimous.
All right,
Okay,
thank you
so
very
we'll
much
see
for
you
your
next
time.
month. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, chasing our tail with that.
And this was registered?
Yeah,
This is a registered dock
Yeah.
in our,
and it was within this dock and mooring
since
ordinance.
we adopted it.
Yeah, exactly, so that's,
Yeah. That's what we're going with.
And I think
We dealt with one other one that had a little deck in front of it, that was over in that area, had a deck in front of it, didn't have really enough property, we had to get the town in, we had to survey, you know what I mean, because they were going for something different.
Yeah, right, this is in time.
Right.
All right, move,
Remind me of the situation again?
This was we had filed it for a dock, everybody's excited. But was not on the agenda because the fee had to be paid, so we paid the fee. And then you suggested that we come in and just drop off 10 copies.
Okay. So, yeah, it's gonna be an acceptance anyway, but if you guys are willing to entertain to add an item to the
This is
agenda.
under new
When was
business?
the fee paid? Because I checked with Shane this afternoon and I was told the fee hadn't been paid yet, so that's why we didn't bring it up.
I have confirmation on my phone.
can you get an open book from here?
Yeah, what's the address of the property?
77 East Lake is the address of my client's house, and then this is a property they also owns, it's just East Lake. So I do have.
Did a good job.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Okay,
Wow.
it does say that it was paid. All right, so, yeah, they're fine, yeah.
So this is an application under new
It's an
business,
application that just came in, so
yeah,
it's new
and it would be
business.
under new business.
Yes,
Do we need to make a motion to, in a sense, not accept, but to add this to
Add it to the
our
agenda.
agenda?
That's-
will you give it a number here?
Yeah, it's 2611.
Okay, I'll make a motion to entertain or to receive application 2611 here in the meeting for the first time. Second? Does someone want to second it?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. If you could just state your name and your property and
My
what you
name's
wanna do.
James Steck, I'm an attorney from Torrington.
Okay.
I'm on the Torrington ZBA, I've
Okay.
done land use for a while, this is my friend Vernon LeBlanc.
Okay.
He is the property owner. I don't know if, maybe I should claim client, I don't know if you want to be identified as a friend on a public record. Client, we'll say, we'll go with that. I will say that coming tonight has been a great informative exercise, because we came in basically to bring in our application and see what kind of questions will be asked on a new dock application.
Okay.
And we got to see a lot of those, so I really appreciate the discussion that you've had, and I won't keep you too long. We have copies. We have a very unique property, and we'll go into all of it. I think it's, if you go to the next one that's scanned, is basically a 15-foot wide, long lot that is owned in fee by my client's LLC. And it's, so it's gonna require that the Wetlands Commission grant a waiver if they're willing. So it will have to be a public hearing, I believe, based on your regulations. It looks like if there's a waiver being requested, that it would be required if, that we send notice to all the abutting neighbors. And that's on the screen, and of course the assessors, the GIS lines are a little bit off of what the actual picture location is. But it's a long lot, right, that allows for access to his property.
So it's not a right of way, but it's part of his, the property's in the green, right?
The property, his home is in the green.
Right.
And then the actual property that we'd be applying for is that one, yep, the
So
long one.
it's-
Thank you for your,
It's a separate property, or though?
It's a separately deeded property. And
That you own,
there
that
are
your client
rights-
owns.
Yep, and there are rights of way over that property for access and ingress and egress to all the properties along that road. So it's owned by, if you think of it as layers, it's owned, the bottom layer is the fee, and that's owned by my client. And then overlaying that is an easement that allows people to access their houses. The unique idea that we have, which we'll present at the public hearing, is that what you can't really see on that picture up there is on the top of the lot, there is it's all rocks. It's like a rock jetty.
Okay.
And
You can almost see it, actually,
it's like a shadow on the top corner there. Yeah, like right there.
no, right to the left.
And
Into
it
the
goes
water.
out into the
No,
water.
into the water. So
Okay.
that white,
Yeah.
that white line is a fence, that's actually.
It's not a shark.
That's a
It's not a
fence,
shark.
okay.
It is a
Yep.
large rock
Okay.
construction. So our thought is to move, if the dock is approved, the dock all the way against that north line.
Okay.
So we would ask for a waiver of that littoral boundary. The other one would be met if we were able to do that. That's not navigable anyway, because there's a rock jetty there. He would be putting a railing on that side of the dock, so it would not be usable from that side. And then, that would be, and it's 4 feet wide. It would be a 4-foot wide dock. So I did a little bit of,
In general, just to get me, just so I conceptualize this a little bit better, I mean, I'll have to go to, all of us would go to the site here. But you're trying to get a dock in there, or ease access? You swim, do people go in the water there now, or launch boats or anything, or?
So we're the only ones who have access to the water there. So the easement is strictly for people who live on the lake to drive down my driveway. So I own the entire road. So coming off of.
Who, so I don't understand, so other people can,
so
other homeowners can come down that road?
Let me pause you, because I'm gonna provide a title search that'll kind of show
Right,
the
yeah.
rights to the lot and everything. Right now, the way the easement is drafted, it says that all the lot owners on that road have the right to access ingress and egress, which means to their property, away from their property. It doesn't mean that like,
Swim.
No.
well, I mean,
Well-
it's not,
The problem is with
right.
swimming, okay?
right, and,
What you showed us here,
Mhm.
you're not gonna, if you're planning on putting a boat over there, it's right next to the swim area.
there may be a little bit less space, so and I did a little bit of, quick eyeballing. These are a foot wide, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right, so the property goes from here to the wall, basically. And we would have a dock that would go to here. Along that, and it would have some space, and yes, if there was a boat there, I guess it depends on, the size of the boat, what would go in, and that's something that we can kind of address, or, and that's kind of why I was happy to watch that prior application, and to just be able to have this conversation, see what concerns there would be, And can I ask one quick question? Sure. It's stuck in my mind. They were referring to section 380, is that the same as 162? Because when I went on your website, and I pulled out your dock things, on the website, it says
was like
section
an old-
162.
That
dock.
was like an old copy. So we've codified since then. So 380 is the number in general code.
Yeah, okay. And it looks
It should
like
be the
it's,
same text,
Okay.
but, yeah.
I was just making sure, because the guy was referencing the littoral lines were defined as perpendicular to the seawall, but it's really the shoreline. So I didn't know, I wanted to make sure I wasn't reading the wrong definition when I was looking at
It's not
littoral
overlaid
boundary.
accurately.
Oh,
There
I
should be
see.
a cove that could go out
That,
of
that
drastic
fence
angle.
line.
So this dot
Right,
doesn't.
right.
You know what I mean, that the cove, that,
Okay.
It must be fun to
but
deal
it's
with
still totally
shoreline
not
that
oh, that's what you get into our navigational hazard.
There is also, I know,
Willing to make a big exception.
Ms. Maria, I saw that you were, this is a much more clear, this is part of the survey. This is
Yeah,
in
I
the-
see that.
Okay.
I have the
Yeah,
survey.
because the lines on the GIS never quite perfectly match up with the.
Can I ask a
photos.
question?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a dock here before
We don't know. I don't know.
that you know of?
Not that I know.
Okay.
Do other people use it, go into the water? I'm just trying to identify, we dealt with a property a while back that had a right of way.
Easement.
Friendship Cove, or what was it?
Unity Cove.
Unity Cove. We used to call Angry Cove or Disunity Cove. We all had our own names for it. Angry Cove. So,
Lakes can be tough.
that may be different than this, but one of the issues we immediately had was, with, different entities using this entry to the waterway, and then problems with who is allowed to put a boat there, who's, you had one person maybe mooring a boat. It turned into a pretty troubling,
Average Unity on their interpretation
yeah,
of
it
that,
came into, it was a pretty troubling site, and so I was just curious a little bit as far as like the right of way and how it's been used in the past, which.
But even before you get to that, this is 15 feet wide, not 25 feet.
Right.
Where does the
And,
25 feet come from, if I may ask?
and we need to have 10 feet, because you have to have 10 feet from the dock to the littoral boundary on either side. So if you have a 4-foot wide ramp, right, which is what the regulations call for, and then you have 10 feet on either side, you have 24 feet. You have to have 24 feet of frontage to be compliant.
So the regulation that you have in place, if this matches your 380, says that should an applicant not own sufficient shorefront to meet the 10-foot buffer requirement from the littoral boundary line of an abutting property, the applicant may apply to the commission for a waiver.
You can apply for a waiver.
Yep.
It doesn't mean it can be
No,
granted.
obviously not. No, I agree.
Yes,
I know that.
We
I
know
yeah.
that. We know we
And
have
that's
the
why
ability to
we
grant
are-
waivers.
That's why I thought it's going
Yeah.
to be a public hearing, and you're
Yeah.
gonna have to
Yeah, it would very much be a public hearing, yeah.
And I'll have some title work in there. I've done tons of title work on the property. I just have to put it into a digestible format. It's a lot of bits and pieces right now of deeds and old deeds and how it got to this property.
What is the total frontage?
15 feet.
15.
15 feet. And that's why it's unique. The idea is that, and I don't know how good my artistry will be, but, the idea for littoral boundaries, I assume, is to preserve the rights of neighbors and the navigability of their property next door. It's to give a little space. In this case, the littoral boundary is, for the northerly, if that's, the northerly part, isn't as much of an issue because that's not navigable anyway. There is, and you'll see that when you go to the property, that's a pile of rocks, a big, long jetty pile of rocks that nobody should ride their boat on. anyway.
Well, people have come to us for applications to actually break apart rocks.
We're not applying for that.
In order, but just so you know, that is something people can do.
And the people that own the property to the north, they'll get notice of it and everything, and they do have a dock. It is not even on this picture, it's much further up. So we'd be, I don't think they've tried to put their boat there anyway. And, I mean.
Are you looking to put a boat, or are you just looking for swim access, or whatever you can, in a
Honestly,
sense, whatever you can get?
my concern right now is that I have 3 small children. The youngest is 3, I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old.
3 was a surprise.
And a pleasant surprise. So, and the boys, they love to fish. So as you can see, like the water line there, we're kind of like recessed in. So what they're constantly doing is walking on the neighbor's wall, and there's some stones. They're like standing on these wet stones, and they're literally casting into the water. They're catching a fish, or they're not. They're getting hooked, and then they wind up on the neighbor's property, and they're on the dock to the south, or they're on the seawall to the north. And I mean, honestly, it's dangerous. I'm not gonna tell them to stop fishing. I'm not trying to get my neighbors upset either. Is there potential for a boat in the future? Sure. Is that my main concern? No, it's not. Really, more so than anything, it's for the kids. We have paddle boards, we have kayaks.
Which you put in the water now through there.
We put it in the water, and again, it's dangerous. They're getting in the kayaks, they're flipping the kayaks, they're, it's, honestly, it's a safety concern.
That might be a skill issue.
So you're
With the
saying that
younger-
you own, let me just get my thing right. You want to put it in here, correct?
Yep.
All right.
As
You
far to
own-
the north
you-
as we're
But
allowed.
you own this also,
Yep.
Yep.
all right? You own that. So access, you can't stop their access over here?
No, so there's
So
a fence there.
Their access is only for cars, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I'll produce a title report that, but yeah, it's ingress and egress.
So
It's not just
they
cars,
have no
though, it's utility.
access for swimming, nothing down there?
I'll make absolutely certain, but my initial
If they
reading of all the
didn't have
title.
access for swimming and
Yep.
stuff like that, you're certainly not driving a car down there and accessing anything. Why wouldn't you deed part of this to that, so you have frontage for your dock and your boat?
So all my neighbors here in this community, so, you come down the road and then it's only our small community right there.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own dock. So everybody has water access, everybody has,
So this is where I'm going. If it's your small community and you own the road, I'm not trying to add a lot of aggravation to this, but if they're not using it and they all have their own docks and stuff like that, why wouldn't you go and say, I'm gonna cut it short? You got your access to your houses and everything. You end up getting the width of that plus your 15 feet. You come more into compliance.
Wait, are you saying there's another 15 feet that I'm missing?
Mary Ann, he owns this road coming down through
I
here.
understand, I thought that's where he was trying to
No,
put the
it's over
dock.
here.
No, so those lines are a little bit off because of the way that the
Oh, okay,
GIS
so this is
matches
running all the
up.
way up.
so
Yeah,
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 so
yeah,
that.
it's just
that-
15 feet, yeah.
That
Yeah,
white line there.
okay.
is-
Thank you, I wish you were correct and we had some more feet there.
Yeah, if, I
I'm saying to
was,
myself, what the hell?
I was like, wow, Gary's
No
telling a
brainer.
different story than the one I thought I heard.
So this is
Okay.
essentially shifted.
Everything is shifted, yeah.
The GIS overlay is wrong.
The
That
lines don't
line,
cut through this guy's house.
I was just
that white line
confused.
above is the fence that separates
But it's
the
still
property.
only
There's a pin
15
right
feet,
there.
right?
Yep,
The road is
There's-
15 feet
yep,
wide.
yep.
The access, and that'll never, in a sense, it seems like that'll never change, right? We're always gonna be dealing with 15
Well, I did
feet.
suggest, for the record, after hearing the first application, that my client buy all of the abutting properties. But he didn't seem to think that was a good idea.
You seen that?
You gotta call your accountant.
All right.
It can't happen.
Yeah, so I mean, it is, I mean, thank you. We came in to kind of present it. We know it's
Feel it out a
unique,
little bit,
we know
yeah.
it's weird, we know it's small. It does predate the regulations by many years, that lot size, the 15-foot wide lot. And when I read these regulations, it says if you own, anyone who owns a lot with access to the body of water, and it doesn't say a 25, so 25 foot, is that backed into by saying 10, 10, and then the 5 in the middle? Or is that an actual requirement in this regulation that says 25? Because everybody says 25, but I don't see it in here. It's just a question.
Yeah, I don't know if it specifically spells it out.
I don't know myself, to tell you the truth. We should go by the 25 foot.
Since we're
I've
just
read this
having an
40
open,
times. Sorry.
since we're just having an open conversation here, would some, access into it, like a set of steps that go into it, be an alternative to a dock? Would that be helpful for getting in, maybe getting in? And one of the things you mentioned was that, getting into boats was tough, and, I mean, would that be an alternative essentially, that you, something, you know, we have other places where there's just some stairs that walk down into
Right.
the water.
Right.
Would that be,
I think the goal is to get to like a deeper part of the water, because
Okay,
up
yeah.
front there, and you'll,
Yeah.
feel, please go and check it out.
Yeah,
and look at
definitely.
the property, but you'll see it's very shallow, super shallow
Right.
at the top. It almost looks like like they just wanna drive right into the lake right
They
there.
probably
But,
do.
I don't suggest that, not with the, I don't know if you saw that thing with Tesla in the news recently with it went right into the lake and didn't their wade mode. But, I think the reason that we thought we'd try and file the application was really because, yes, we're looking for a waiver of the littoral boundary from the commission. I think those are probably not granted very often. This is a bit unique in that rock wall, that rock jetty, sort of, to me, looked like it kind of removed that side from the equation in a sense, and that's why we tried to push the dock
in
all the
terms
way
of
against that boundary.
some of the navigational issues?
Navigational, interfering with other people's uses, and then again, the idea was to put a railing on that side too. So he's not using that side, so nobody's using that side of it. We push it all the way over. We wouldn't be in the other guy, to the south in his littoral boundary at all. We'd just be against the one where there's kind of room, a dock, and no interference.
Wouldn't it make, go to that neighbor, you know you're gonna go to have a public hearing, but go to the neighbor and get a letter from him that they have no problem with it being on their littoral line. You do have to get, an engineered plan, you know what I mean, especially with this, showing your littoral boundaries going out into the water.
Survey, right.
You have to have a survey.
That has to be a
full
surveyed littoral line? Or, because I was going to take a
No,
ruler, and no, that's not gonna work, okay. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Everybody's got a ruler.
I
They're all
see,
different.
you see that survey was done by John DeCara.
I think this justifies.
No, the original, so this survey just references that.
You know what I mean?
This
You're
was
gonna go
done
for-
by,
Of course, yeah.
Letter from the neighbors and stuff.
Keith.
Waiver.
who passed
The
away.
original was, yeah, he's passed away, but I was gonna say if it was a DeCara survey, I know
Wiley will have
Tim
access.
Wiley, right over here, you can still get a hold of him and he has access to all the files.
And even in.
I called him like 30 times, he never called me back.
Sounds about right.
Join the club.
Yeah, you do. Surveyors are tough right now. There's not a lot of them.
No.
We lost Steve Latour from Berkshire Surveying, Engineering, and very few surveyors right now.
Yeah.
So it's a real problem. But okay, so I thank everybody for that discussion.
Accept it.
Well, would we,
We have to accept it, and we have to,
Yeah, we have to
then we have
accept
to
it.
make a motion for a public hearing.
Yes, we do.
All right, so I'll do
yeah,
this.
yeah, do it. Yeah,
I'll
'cause I'm a
make
little-
motion to accept IWWC 26-11. That's correct, right? 26-11?
Yes, it is.
And I guess it is to install where is it? Right. Install a new dock on the owner's property.
Right. We have a second.
Uh,
Gary second.
We got a public hearing?
Yeah, put it in the same,
Same
yeah.
mo-
Same motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we will require a public hearing on this
For
in
June
public
17th.
interest. Right, correct?
June 17th meeting.
June 17th.
June 17th meeting, yeah.
For public interest.
Yeah, a second.
Second.
And you are clear going ahead that we would need a formal survey, right, that we would need to show the littoral
And
boundaries.
make sure they draw the littoral boundaries correctly. We
And
use
at
the
that point,
code
if your
method
neighbor
here.
coming into it, if you were gonna work out some kind of arrangement with your neighbor, it'd be best to do it for that, for that meeting, moving ahead, cause it may push you back, otherwise it might push you back another month, so.
Yeah, my biggest concern will be trying to get that surveyor to a survey of it in that window, but we'll try. I'll.
Well, we're
Trying to
this is a unique property, it is a don't really
Well,
deal with a
hang
lot
on.
of variances.
If
do we?
you don't think you can get a survey in time, and you know that you're gonna start a ticking clock if we accept this application tonight, would you rather not have us accept this application until you talk to a surveyor and you know when you can get one?
They've got, what, 65 days or 90 days?
65 to open the
Yeah,
hearing.
but, I mean, it's taken me a year to get a surveyor, sorry.
Well, I mean, this is an existing map that's done.
You have there's an existing one that's done, like you said, all you gotta do is sit at the door, wait for him to come back.
Yeah. We usually catch them about
Okay,
7
okay,
a.m.
Okay, okay.
Where's that?
You got 65 days to open the hearing, and they can request an extension of an additional 65.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, yeah, so they've
Right.
got
So
till
that's
4 months.
More
Yeah.
than that, yeah.
4 months to
Okay.
get this resolved, so.
So you could set it for June 17th, you could set it for your July meeting date if you prefer. And then if they're not ready with a survey by July, they can ask for an extension, we'll just table it.
Well, we put it in there as the 17th already, so probably leave it
Just
there,
leave
and if
it.
We'll
they have
leave
to
it there.
continue it, they
If they're
can
not ready,
continue
we'll
it.
just table it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll bring a survey or my tears.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Great.
Did you,
All right.
I know we got the first and second, do we actually hold the
No.
vote on that?
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Good.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
You guys.
Don't stay a lot longer, okay?
We got a few things here.
And Mary Ann,
Guys,
thank you
even though the, both
being
Keiths
here.
died, the daughter slash
Thank you.
wife, whoever you, they're still trying to get those data files
Yeah.
to other surveyors.
You
so
like
if guys
bumping into
touch
walls,
with
right? Yeah.
Right, I'm still exhausted, get to the phone number and try to put it all together, so.
All right, thank you.
Only till noon, but yeah. All right, okay.
Have a good night, guys.
Glad to hear you're on the ZBA, Mark, I'm on the wetlands.
Good night.
I need to talk to them because I was saying, I like that you guys take paper submissions on the ZBA. I don't know how you do it with.
Oh, no, we don't do paper. We're trying to kill paper here too.
Yeah, but
No, I need you to leave now, go.
Everything should be on paper.
All right.
I'm a paper person.
All right,
Paper
moving
person.
ahead to agent actions. We have agent approvals for IWWC 26-7, USA Hauling, 185 Torrington Road.
Yep. So basically, they want to put a fence in on the edge of the Greenway Trail
Yeah.
to block their situation from people. It's in the upland review area, so it required an application and approved by agent
How
determination.
tall they put the fence in?
If I remember correctly, that one is oversized, so over 6 feet, so it does require a building permit.
So the people walking won't see the trash cans?
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah, but everybody driving up and down, coming into town, leaving town, coming to visit town, they can see all the dump and all the shit. All the
Should be
stuff.
looking forward. Don't be looking to the right.
Is there a suggestion in there?
Keep your eyes on the road.
Because, nobody wants to see my trash can, but we
Yeah,
can see
yeah.
everybody else.
Keep your eyes on the road,
Each one
that's it.
enclosed.
Yeah, all right.
All right, so moving on to,
Dumpster closed, what you need.
Okay.
next is IWWC 26-8, was replace existing driveway in the same location with permeable pavers. It was a simple job, agent approval.
Okay.
Simple job, you ought to stop by.
All right.
Simple job for review.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's not that simple, is it?
Next, you'll notice DM Hawk is on here for a couple applications. We're constantly striving to make our driveway application situation better. And Hawk is a good contractor who actually reaches out to us and tries to talk this thing through. So you'll see one was an agent approval because we decided that required a full application. So that's 26-9 at 628 East Wakefield Boulevard. And the next is an as-of-right application. For those, it's in the review area, but it's really just sort of by right maintenance, no major issues. So that's how.
But there is a regrade existing gravel, but no excavation.
Right.
So,
So it's not even laying any
Okay.
pavement.
No new material,
Yeah.
no material
Okay.
came out, just, yeah.
Right. So under the driveway application regulations, that's really considered by right maintenance, so it matches up with an as-of-right maintenance.
okay.
Next one is Bridge Street, Willow Street intersection improvements. It's a town project. Bart sent us the plans to review, no drainage work, nothing done on the banks, it's all up above, so again, as of right, application and approval.
Reduction, I think, in overall impervious coverage there.
I think so.
Because they're narrowing up some of those intersections. Some of that
Trying to
stuff's
fix
outside the
the
upland review anyway.
slot.
They're gonna keep it how as it is? No one-way going up Bridge Street
The
or?
one-way was rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're-
Vociferously, if you were at that meeting.
I'm sure.
14 people.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 139 Wakefield Boulevard under violations.
Yeah, that is still an active court case. It got kicked to June sometime, I think. So when there's a new update, we'll
Okay.
give it to you.
July 7th is the.
July. Oh, Gary would know. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
he's on the hook there.
I'm signed up for it.
And then under communications, we don't have anything for that, correct? Not that I know of. And then under other business, I know everybody's probably getting ready to get out of here, but I wanted to go over that. I think you could bring up some pictures. So we have that Main Street property that's been excavated, that's an old, I'm trying to remember what that was, oil tank, whatever it was, the site, I'm not sure, but there was a bunch of old concrete walls there. It's right on the river.
Yep.
And this
Yeah.
is certainly one that, I've heard you many times say we need to really start looking at these other ones, and I absolutely agree with that. And I think some people maybe went to that site, they came in, said there was gonna be some remediation work there of, they didn't get a permit initially, they pulled out the bridge going across
Right.
it. One of the issues that was brought up was something to do with that it was dangerous having the bridge there. When the bridge was there were at least some fences around it. Now you've just got a big drop off, but as you can see from the picture, there should be a bunch of pictures
Yeah,
on
I'm
there.
trying to get my hands on them. Sometimes Outlook fights me.
That's not really a great, that only shows a drop off as a hazard. I don't know if that's really, all this is in our purview because it's right on the water. The main thing at this site, we talked to them about cleaning up all the debris that was dropped down below it. And some of it is in the actual river, but as the river comes up in the spring, this area, if you're looking to the left from, I wish the other pictures came out because you really see it, but the river flows through that. All right, yeah, you got a few more here. That's the top of the wall. But down below, there's quite a bit of, concrete that was left over.
He was supposed to reach over, our conversation with him, is he was supposed to track across the
Right.
top, reach over the excavator, hand
Right.
pick the
Right.
So there is a
Stuff up,
lot,
put it in the bucket.
none of that has been done. And as I look at it more, and Jeff looks, and maybe may agree with me that, there's quite a bit, of real it's a tricky thing. It's gotta be pulled up out of there, but my concern is how they're gonna do it. We didn't really talk about any means and methods, and this is a classic example of right on the water. If this was on the lake, we'd be under heavy scrutiny.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we got this one late, but that is riverbed there. The river comes through there in the spring. Maybe you could make an argument that it's only riverbed for part of the season, but I don't know if I quite buy that.
Well,
but anyway,
it's still in the review area.
it's still in the review area, and it's really a mess. And I don't know if we really need to review it and say, is this something that needs more, in a sense, more of a plan and more of an engineering, environmental assessment of it? It's a tough thing, but that nothing's been done is certainly alarming. Now I'm a little concerned, like, okay, well, what is gonna be done, and is someone gonna drive eventually a Bobcat down there and try to scoop it all out? I don't know.
Well, how much of it can be removed by hand?
All of it can be removed.
Well, then that's how they do it.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that there's really not one, nothing's been done, and two, do we really have that good of a plan?
We clarified to them in that meeting that
Right.
anything in the riverbed had to be taken out by hand.
We were
Reach
clear.
over, they said the means and
Yeah.
methods were gonna be, it was,
We were on a Zoom
John
meeting, right,
Barbarino
too?
was sitting there,
Right.
right? His brother was here the first time, he came the second
Right.
time. You're reaching over, hand picking everything inside and then cleaning up and going out. As far as railings and stuff have nothing to do
That's
with
not,
us.
yeah, absolutely nothing to do with it. I only brought that point up.
Securing the site and getting rid of the debris that can wash or go into the brook afterwards is part of us. And
Yeah.
he has to be back, right? I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
where he's
this
going.
job is not done.
Right.
Right,
So
so
where
I think
do-
you gotta get to him and say, listen, you know, and in all honesty, we're going into June, July, where the water's gonna be way down. Now you can clean it out good. You know what I mean, with the rains and stuff we've had and the river coming up, we're better off doing it in June or July
Oh,
anyways.
absolutely,
You know, to where
absolutely.
they're gonna hand pick it and then kind of, you know, clean their way back a little bit. Maybe stabilize, like where you have, you know, you have a wall there, but where you have slopes and stuff where they've taken the debris out, they gotta throw some seed down or stabilize it or something.
It's fairly, it doesn't look too bad. I don't know if you've been to it.
Yeah, no, I've
it-
been there, I've been on it.
So I did meet the contractor doing the work there before they got started. We talked about, they are gonna be installing a fence on the top of the wall for safety. Again, out of your purview, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I was there and just had
Yeah.
to throw it out there. All the trees that they did cut down, they agreed to leave the chips, you know, for some erosion control.
Sure.
I was scheduled to meet him again on site to go over cleanup of the riverbank. Unfortunately, he had to cancel the meeting. He had a death and a funeral and whatnot, so we haven't rescheduled that yet. And I stopped by occasionally. They haven't been back yet either, so
Right.
it's not like they're working without the direction. But yeah, that's what the next conversation is. Now that the trees are all down and you can see everything over the side, you gotta get that cleaned up. Yeah.
So as far as moving ahead, like I said, I wanted to open a discussion about it. Is there something that, what else, do you think there's anything else that needs to happen with that, or we need to just get them
I mean,
on
they need
site
to
and
go do the
discuss?
cleanup.
Right.
You know, that's what it comes down to. So yeah, if they gotta go down there and, you know, carry it out by hand in buckets, if they can't reach everything, then that's what they're gonna need to do.
Where do you think the town is failing in our, this is a loaded question, see if you really
Sounds
care.
like it already.
Where's our town failing in our follow-up, in our getting shit done? You know what I mean?
What, this is a good example to me of it going too far before there was ever any permitting. Did it, right? I mean, it immediately
No, but
got
once we
started.
once we enforce something, once we say we want, where's our enforcement? Where are we falling apart? Is it, and I'm not throwing this dart at you, because you can only do so much. You know, you're the zoning guy and this and that. Is it the town doesn't have money to put somebody on to enforce some of these things and be out and see it?
Seems about right. There was a request in this recent budget for an additional enforcement body. That request was denied.
Right.
So we, you know.
And that's the conversation we had earlier. You know, we
Yeah.
can only expect so much out of Jeff. My conversation was with even Steve on that little thing on West Wakefield, and my conversation with Steve, I told him, I said, you can't go marching down. Steve has the feeling that Jeff works for us. You know what I mean? He's our enforcement agent, and this is it, you know? And it's unfair to think that way, you know, but we need more enforcement somehow. You know, somehow.
Did you attend any of the budget workshops?
Did
you go to any of the budget
Listen,
meetings?
the only thing I do with the budget is go vote it down.
The other two, you and
Nobody got,
I shouldn't have said that.
nobody got what they needed.
I know that, Mary Ann, but I'm just saying, how do we come around that?
Well, I made a suggestion, but nobody really took it up, which is that there are 9 of us. And each of us take an area and we drive around once a week.
That's
No, I
tough
think
though,
that you,
'cause
I took that at heart, definitely. Like I said, I try to get around a little and really look at something.
But like we just each take an area, we all sort of look at the map, we agree, I'll do this week, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, and we go look.
Really, is that gonna be part of our program still?
We don't
I
have-
agree with you.
we
I
don't
agree
have the
somebody's gotta
staff
do it.
to
I
do
have
it.
been doing it, and he's the blunt, getting the blunt of the problem. When I go by and I see something right or wrong, I call Steve, because he's the chairman, I'm not gonna come running to Jeff. I call Steve, and it's been on a few of them, and it just has to go to Jeff. And some of them, and I'm gonna tell you the truth, some of them, one of them especially, all right, was the corner of Forest Ave in West Wakefield Boulevard. That's a town project. Now, for me to sit here and say I'm gonna enforce Joe Blow over here on his environmental problems and his erosion control, when the town doesn't step up to the plate and do it themselves, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Okay? And I took pictures of that, and that went to Jeff. Jeff got in touch with Jim, and it just did not get rectified for 4 weeks. Because I tracked it, and finally something got done. That's wrong. Pictures of dirt coming down, going into catch basins. How do we enforce it and everybody else when we don't take care of it in our own house?
Well, I think you're sort of taking the first step, at least by getting involved with it and document it.
Well,
right? I
we
mean,
are,
that
but
is
the
that
problem
is
is,
something.
it's coming right back to Jeff, and Jeff,
Yeah.
he's being
I understand.
bottlenecked with it.
What happened there? Did they not have the staff to deal with it?
So when I brought that up to Jim, he said one side was stabilized already, so that silt fencing could have been removed. The other side, though, did need to be readdressed, and yeah.
Well, the problem with that is too, and I'm gonna go a step further than that, that was a subcontractor, and he's the man responsible for it. Okay, not Jim, subcontractor is, and that's no different than Holland Street up there, whatever the hell, Holland Beach.
Who's the sub hired by?
When is this
though?
gonna be finished?
Who's the sub hired by? The town?
Public Works.
Yeah,
Jim,
well,
Public
but
Works.
they
so
put it
then
out
they're
to,
still like more or less the prime
He
contractor
should
on it,
have
right?
their contractors finishing this shit up.
Yeah.
You know, and I know where this is gonna go, and if you talk to Jim, yeah, we're trying to take as much back ourselves to keep the pricing down, you know, the prices down and everything to that nature, and that's understandable. But if you're gonna take that back, take the responsibility with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and the only reason I'm getting a little upset with it is it's been brought to my attention that way. Okay, that way, to where, why should we do it? You know, I sent the other one over there with the little, right, that went to that thing where the garage in front of the house on West Wakefield Boulevard. You went over and looked at it. How dumb was it even the way they put it in? They're stopping the water from the road from going into the catch basin, but they're not stopping the mud from going into the catch basin.
It's all rectified.
I know-
As of yesterday, it was.
No, it's
I didn't get
rectified,
there
it's
today.
right, you know,
Yeah.
but
I think one of the things that we should be doing, what I keep hearing catch basins, and what we need to be doing, I think, going forward in the plans too, is
Silt
making
sack.
sure this, every basin within 200 feet of the project has a
Silt
sack
sack
on it.
it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep, silt sack.
And that those get
100%.
maintained. There should always be silt sacks. The Forest Ave
I
corner, there
agree
should have been sacks on
100%.
those.
yes, yes.
And it's a shame that you have to, you don't, that you have to
No, you
put that
shouldn't
expensive
have to.
burden
You
on,
have to remember.
on the homeowner.
Yeah.
You know, that down the street, he's gotta put it in, but nobody's living by the rules,
Yeah. No, I understand.
you know? Nobody's living by the rules. But I
Okay.
think,
Can we move this along? Sorry, I'm so tired.
I got, no, we'll definitely move it along. I broke, you know, that conversation
Yeah.
kinda got sidetracked a little bit, but.
We had an Irish wake last night and I
I
gotta go
got you.
sleep.
So, but anyway, I'm glad we had a discussion, at least about the property on Main Street there a little bit, and, so under other business, I don't think, you know, Department of Public Works, Jeff isn't here, I know my name's on that, but he's really taking that over. Watershed Association liaisons, I think we're,
Jamie has some stuff.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff.
all right, we gotta do it.
Make it short.
Say it loud for them on YouTube.
I saw in one of the attachments at the Board of Selectmen meeting that the Marine Patrol started on May 15th.
Okay,
The Highland Lake Mix and Mingle is at Little Red Barn on June 5th from 5:30 to 7.
okay,
The annual meeting is July 11th at the Franciscan Center on Oak Street at 9 a.m.
It's my birthday, so you should come.
Big party?
always a big party.
The boat parade is July 25th at 7, and the theme is America 250.
All right, very good.
And then there is the inaugural 50-50 poker run, which, hold on,
May 30th.
yes, May 30th.
Rain date, May 31st.
And you can pre-purchase your $20 poker run cards via Venmo, check, or cash. Each card has a grid of 13 rows,
2 through 8 in 4 columns, 1 for each suit. 5 designated dock locations along the shores, just look for the red and black poker decorations. And then you can pick a card from the dock and fill in your chart. After all the boats have completed by 4 p.m., they'll tally the results, and the 3 highest hands split 50% of the pot. First is 25%, second is 15%, third is 10%. In case of a tie, the prize money for the tied positions will be combined and divided equally. Winners will be notified by phone that evening. Thank you.
All right.
And the other 50% goes to the Watershed
The Watershed
Association.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
So it's a fundraiser.
Yeah, it's a fundraiser.
All right.
And the Highland Lake sign that got
That has-
destroyed
Yep, that
by
was
the
next.
rogue pickup truck
Did see
has
that.
been
Has
replaced.
been replaced.
All
We
right,
never
well,
did find out who did that, did we?
Thank you. And then, I think the only other thing, I don't think we're gonna have a discussion about wakeboarding report this evening, but, that's all in the, just going down through this. That's all in the works, correct? In a sense, like, there's nothing really new that we're discussing with that right at the moment, correct?
Not at this.
Right, at
level.
this structure. All right. Well, I will make a motion to adjourn our, May 21st meeting.
Second.
Second. All good?
In favor.
Thank you.
Good job, Russ.
Good night, lovely people.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Our attorney wants to come back and let his
Oh,
attaché.
boy.
Oh, gee, yeah, it'll be.
I told him to get out.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, we don't get, they don't.